Hi, I'm Dr. Y. You're welcome to today's edition of Dr. Y's series, and today we'll be talking on the things you need to know about your health before you get married. Stay tuned and I'll be right back. Before you get married, it's important you know your family tree. Know the diseases that runs in the family, diabetes, hypertension. It does not mean you cannot get married if you have those things, but it's important you know those things beforehand. The first thing I'm going to talk about on what you need to know about your health before you get married is your hepatitis status. We have several types. We have the A, we have the B, we have the C, we have the D, we have the E, and we have some other variants of hepatitis. But it's important you know your hepatitis B and C status. If you are hepatitis positive, you can be managed. For hepatitis B, there is a vaccine. So if you're going to before you get married, your spouse, if you find out that you are hepatitis B positive, it is very important that the person you want to get married to gets the hepatitis B vaccine. If you do not do that, you might end up infecting the person that you're about to get married to, which may cause problems in your marriage subsequently. Also, it is important you know your hepatitis C status. Now, hepatitis C does not have a vaccine. Cannot be prevented by probably getting a vaccine, but it can be prevented by preventing yourself from having contact with body fluids of the person that has hepatitis C. So if you are hepatitis C positive, it is important you allow your partner know that you are hepatitis C positive. Now, there are treatments. Hepatitis C can be treated. There are medications that are given to treat hepatitis C. So it does not mean that because you have hepatitis C, you cannot get married anymore. No, that's not true. Now, there are other sexually transmitted diseases that it is important you screen yourself for if you are about to get married. Now, don't forget, this is about you now. We're not talking about your partner or the person you want to get married to. We're talking about knowing about your own particular health status before you get married. It is important to screen yourself for some other sexually transmitted diseases if you've been sexually active. For example, in a female, it's important to do a pap smear to rule out the risk of having cervical cancer. If these things can be treated, if these things can be managed if detected early. For others, that's a male and female, it's important you screen yourself for gonorrhea, for syphilis. Now, gonorrhea is even worse in women because they may not even have symptoms. And once they get married, they may have issues with fertility and other things that may occur as complications of sexually transmitted complications of gonorrhea. Also, it is important to know your HIV status. Now, HIV does not mean you cannot get married. If you have HIV, you can still get married and have a child that is not HIV. You can still get married and your husband or your wife will not be HIV positive. You can still get married and live long. And when I mean long, you can live for over, I know people who are HIV positive and have lived for over 40 years. So it is not a curse. Most of the pictures you see out there on internet are pictures of people who did not manage the HIV properly or who did not go for treatment. So when you see somebody so skinny or the person looks like an old angry person, it's simply because the person did not treat his or herself well. So HIV can be managed. There are drugs we give to people who are HIV positive, and that does not mean you cannot get married if you are HIV positive. But it's important to know your status so that you do not infect the person you want to get married to. And it's also important to know your status so that you do not infect your child that is not yet born. So when we come back from this break, I'm going to talk to you on the other part of the things you need to know about your spouse and yourself before you get married. So stay tuned and I'll be right back. So before we went on break, we talked about the things you need to know about yourself before you get married. And now we're back from the break. We are going to talk about the things you need to know about your spouse's health before you get married. First, it's important you know your spouse's genotype, and it's important you know your own genotype. Now, there are three major types of genotyping that you could have. It's either you are AA, or you are AS, or you are SS. Now, SS has other variants. We could have SC, then CC, and some other types. We're not going to talk about those ones. We're going to talk about AA, AS, and SS. Back then in biology class, we used to say things like, they would draw this diagram of AA, then AS. Now, once you cross it, you can have AA or AS, 50-50. Now, it is possible you will have all your children will be AS. It is also possible all your children would be AA. If you are AA and you want to get married to somebody that is AS, no problem with that. It is okay. But if you are AS and you want to get married to somebody that is AS, you are gambling. Now, remember then in school, they tell you in biology class, they will draw the AS this way, then draw the AS this way. Then they'll tell you things like you have 25% chances of having children that are AA. You have 50% chances of having children that are AS, and you have 25% chances of having children that are SS. Now, it does not mean the first child you have will be AA, the second child you have will be AS, the third child you have will be AS, and the fourth child you have will be SS. Because back then in biology class, I had colleagues that said, if I'm AS and my other person is AS, what we'll just do is we'll just have two children, so that the first one will be AA, the second one will be AS, then they wouldn't have children anymore. It is not so. It doesn't work like that. So if you are AS and you want to get married to somebody that is AS, you may be so lucky that all the children you have will be AA. You could be so very lucky too that all the children you have will be AS. And you could be so very unlucky that all the children you have will be SS. So it is not encouraged. Yes, there are ways you can check for the child's genotype before the child is born. Yeah, we have bone marrow transplants for children who are SS. Thank God technology is coming up with several other things that can be done. But how long and how much do you want to spend? Yes, love is blind, but most times once you have children that are SS, love actually sees better than what you think. So I would really advise you, if you are AS and you have somebody that you are dating and the other person is AS, you have to be very, 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 very careful. Likewise, if you are AS and you want to date someone that is, or you want to get married to somebody or have children with somebody that is SS, it is very risky, just like you want to get married to somebody that is AS, because the risk of having many children or having children with SS is on the high side. So if you are AS, or if you have a genotype AS or genotype SS, the only kind of person that you can get married to is somebody that is AA. I'm not doing matchmaking and I'm not trying to break any relationship here, because a lot of people after watching this video would probably send it to their girlfriends or their boyfriends and say, Dr. Y says we cannot continue with this relationship. It is over. I am sorry, I don't mean to break your heart with this, but I just don't want a situation whereby you have children that come to this world and go through pains of sickle cell crisis, or go through pains of probably complications that have to do with sickle cell anemia. So I'm telling you this, and Dr. Y is very sorry if this is really going to break your heart, but on this note, if I have to break your relationship, please let me do it so that you don't have, or so that you don't regret it in future. But if you are convinced, there are a lot of people that have played the game before, but I'm not advising it, I think you should give it some time, because a lot of people who actually have children who are genotype SS really wish it didn't come that way. So the next thing we're going to talk about is your blood group. Now, I receive not just calls or messages. I also happen to be an opportunity to counsel couples who almost broke their relationship because they heard that their girlfriend or the person they wanted to get married to was having a different resource factor. Now, what is resource factor? If you know your blood group is either A, B, AB or O. So there are 4 major types of blood group, which are A, B, AB, or O. Now, is either you are A positive or A negative, B positive or B negative, AB positive or AB negative, O positive or O negative. You do not have a problem getting married to each other. The negativity or the positivity on your blood group does not have anything to do with whether or not you can get married to each other. You can go ahead and get married to each other. But it is important you take note of the fact that there is an injection you would need to take. That is the woman. There's an injection the woman will need to take after delivering her first child or after delivery of every child, so that she doesn't get sensitized if her husband has a resource positive factor. Now, what I'm trying to say is, if you are a woman that has a resource negative blood group and your husband has a resource positive blood group, it is important you take an injection after you deliver your child so that you don't get sensitized. That sensitization means if the child's blood is positive, the child's blood will sensitize you, and your subsequent children may not do well. When I mean may not do well, may not survive. It's important you get that injection immediately after you deliver your child. And I will encourage you, register in a hospital that is very, very recommended, or that has the facilities to give you these things, so that you do not have problem with subsequent deliveries. Once again, I am Dr. Y, and I've told you about the things you need to know about your health and your spouse's health before you get married. Once again, I'm sorry if this video is going to make you break up with somebody, but I think it's important to know the right thing, get the information right before you get married. Once again, I am Dr. Y, and your health is my priority.